fundamental misunderstanding most of us fall into is this. We believe we must get somewhere, achieve something, become someone other than who we already are. And so we set off on this great journey of life like it's a straight road with a finish line at the end, some distant place where all the pieces of the puzzle finally click. But this illusion of a destination only creates a perpetual sense of incompletion. It feeds the notion that now is never quite enough, that you are never quite enough. But let me ask you, what if there is nowhere to go? What if, in this exact moment, everything you ever needed to feel complete was already present? Not as a potential, but as a reality waiting for your recognition. The game changes entirely when you act not from lack, but from fullness. To act as if you already have everything is not pretense. It is not self-deception. It is a return to sanity. It is a shift in the inner posture of your being. You are no longer begging life for scraps. You are walking through it as though you were the author of its pages. Because in a very peculiar way you are. When you walk, talk, breathe, and create as if your desires are already yours, something curious begins to happen. The world bends, not because you forced it, but because you ceased resisting it. You see, reality is not as fixed as we like to think. It's more like music than mathematics. Fluid, expressive, alive. And like music, it doesn't arrive at a particular point to make sense. Its meaning is in the unfolding, the rhythm, the presence. And so when you align with that rhythm, when you live as though you are already whole, already wealthy, already loved, you become the dance rather than the dancer. This is not a matter of pretending. It is an invitation to recognize that your inner world is the starting point, not the response. You don't smile because the world is kind. You smile, and the world often returns the gesture. So too with abundance, with love, with freedom. To wait until you are free, to feel free, is like waiting for silence to begin your song. Acting as if is not an act of ego. It is a surrender to the deeper truth that you are not what happens to you, but what flows through you. The person who waits for proof before believing will always be a step behind, but the one who knows that belief is the proof, that one moves the mountains. That one dances without needing a stage. That one is free. We are often taught from the earliest moments of our lives that something is missing, always reaching for some elusive point of arrival. But the more we chase it, the further it seems to drift away, because this idea that you are not whole in this moment is the very illusion that creates suffering. The truth is far more simple and far more profound. There is nothing to chase because nothing is missing. The idea that something is absent is a construct of the mind, a trick it plays to keep itself moving. But if you stop and become aware, really aware of your breath, the stillness underneath the noise, the pulse of life itself, you begin to sense something strange. A presence that doesn't need improvement, a being that doesn't need fixing. A completeness that exists not because of what you have. A complete experience. As if all other being, life, living and being. You see, the sense of incompletion is like a fog we have become used to walking in. We no longer question it, we adapt to it. We think, once I have this, then I will feel peace. Or, once I become that, then I will be free. And yet, every time we reach a new milestone, the mind shifts the target. The finish line moves. What was once a goal becomes just another step. And so life becomes a cycle of postponing happiness, peace, and contentment until some future event justifies it. But pause for a moment. Strip away the noise of desire. Strip away the grasping, the craving, the comparison. And what remains is stillness. What remains is being. That is the you that has never been broken. That is the you that exists before the roles, before the goals, before the identities. It's not an empty void. It's fullness. It's wholeness in its purest form. It's the you that doesn't need validation to know it exists. It simply is. When you realize this, when you feel it in your bones, the chase starts to look rather silly. Think of it like this. Imagine a wave in the ocean constantly trying to become water. It moves with urgency, it rises, it crashes, it breaks, trying so hard to be what it already is. It does not realize that it has always been water from the beginning. In the same way, we push and pull and hustle, trying to become worthy, loved, successful, enlightened, forgetting that our very essence is already complete, not perfect, but whole. And this doesn't mean you stop growing or creating, but the place you act from changes. No longer are your actions motivated by lack, by a need to prove your worth. They arise from joy, from inspiration, from the sheer delight of expressing what is already within you. When you know you are whole, you no longer seek experiences to fill a void. You engage with life because it's an extension of your being, not a fix for your brokenness. To live from this knowing is to live in peace, not because everything is easy, but because you are no longer resisting what is. You are no longer at war with yourself. The internal conflict dissolves, and with it, the frantic need to always be somewhere else, someone else doing something else. You begin to trust the moment, trust yourself, trust life, not as blind faith, but as deep recognition. It's easy to say, I will be happy when, but notice how that phrase never ends. There's always another condition, another achievement, another piece of the puzzle. But when you let go of the idea that anything needs to be added to you for you to be whole, the chase ends. And in that ending, but the opposite is true. When you realize you're already whole, your actions become more potent, more meaningful. You're not acting out of desperation or lack. You're not trying to fix your life. You're expressing it. You begin to play rather than perform. You move not to become, but because moving is part of the dance. And this dance of life becomes far more real, and you're not constantly stepping over yourself, trying to reach a future that never arrives. Every moment becomes enough. Every breath becomes sacred. Even the so-called ordinary things, a sip of water, the warmth of sunlight, the sound of laughter, become extraordinary because you are finally present enough to see them, to feel them, to be with them. This is the essence of having everything right now. It's not about material wealth, titles, or accomplishments. Those things can come and go. This is about the deep, unshakable knowing that you lack nothing. That you don't need to become something else to be worthy of peace. That you can return to yourself, not tomorrow, not when things are better, but right now. You have been enough all along. And the moment you stop running towards something else is the moment you arrive fully where you are. And where you are, in its raw, quiet simplicity, is everything. To act as if you already have everything is often misunderstood. People think it means putting on a show, pretending to be someone you're not, faking a smile when things are crumbling, or lying to yourself about your circumstances. But the truth is far more subtle, more profound. It is not an act of pretending, it is an act of remembering. Remembering who you are underneath the layers of doubt, fear, and conditioning. It is not deception, it is recognition. A deep inner knowing that what you seek you already are. The world tells you to wait. It tells you to wait until you've earned the right to feel worthy. Wait until you've accomplished something, until someone approves of you, until the external world gives you permission to be powerful, confident, joyful. And so you wait. You wait for the job, the partner, the applause, the spiritual breakthrough. You delay the fullness of your expression in the name of realism. You tell yourself you'll be happy when circumstances justify it. Act as if you already have everything is to stop waiting. It is to stop living in reaction to the world and start living as the cause. It is to walk into the room not needing validation, not hoping for acceptance, but simply knowing that your presence is enough, knowing that your essence carries value whether or not the world claps. That kind of knowing isn't loud. It doesn't have to convince anyone. It simply is. This way of being does not mean your bank account or deny the challenges you face. It means you no longer identify with them. You recognize that your true power lies not in reacting to the evidence of the senses, but in standing in the feeling of already being the person you wish to become. Because in a strange paradoxical way, you only become that version of yourself when you stop trying to be them and instead live as them. The mind might say, but I don't have it yet. How can I act as if I do? And that is where you gently smile and say, I don't need to have it to be it. Because the outer form is always the echo of the inner state. And the inner state is entirely within your domain. It is the one thing in life that is always yours. You can be in a quiet room with nothing but your breath and still feel rich, still feel chosen, still feel like a vessel overflowing with life. When you begin to live from that place, the world doesn't ignore you, it responds to you. But it doesn't respond because you're demanding or manipulating or forcing. It responds because you are no longer in resistance. You've surrendered the identity of the seeker and stepped into the truth of the one who knows. This is not arrogance, this is not delusion. It is not about declaring I'm better or I'm above. It's about no longer agreeing to the smallness you were taught to believe in. It's about stepping outside of the story that says you are not enough. It's about shedding that skin and choosing to live in alignment with a deeper reality, one where your worth isn't conditional, your love isn't earned, and your joy isn't postponed. People often ask, well, what if it doesn't work? What if I act as if and nothing changes? But the very question reveals the misunderstanding. You don't act as if to get something. You act as if because you are something. The change is not a transaction. It's a transformation. You're not trying to manipulate the world. You're aligning yourself with the world you wish to see. You're tuning your inner frequency to the station of abundance, peace, love. Not because it guarantees a result, but because that's who you've chosen to be. This is the only freedom that matters. The freedom to choose your state, regardless of the shifting sands around you. It's not easy, Because the world constantly tries to pull you back into old patterns of fear and doubt. But every time you choose to act from the knowing rather than the needing, you strengthen a new foundation. And that foundation begins to carry you even in the face of adversity. You may not see immediate results. That's okay. The fruit doesn't grow at the moment you plant the seed. But something changes within you the moment you stop living as a reaction and start living as a decision. When you walk, speak, breathe from the place of already being, already having, already becoming, you're no longer asking life for permission. You're giving it direction. And this is not limited to money or success or relationships. This touches every part of your being. It's how you carry yourself when you wake up in the morning. It's the silence you keep when someone doubts you, because you no longer need to explain yourself. It's the energy that walks ahead of your words. People feel it. Life feels it. And maybe that's the point. Not to chase something outside of you, but to finally sit in the center of yourself and remember.